We live in a world that is obsessed with light. Everything is about being high vibe, positive, pure. But there's a hidden truth that most aren't ready for. Not all light is strong and not all darkness is dangerous. In fact, some of the most powerful souls walking the earth right now don't shine like the sun. They radiate like the void, silent, grounded, unshakable. They are the dark chosen ones. And not because they chose the dark, but because the darkness chose them to carry out the kind of spiritual mission that requires navigating dimensions most people are too afraid to even name. If you've ever felt like you were born with a built-in resistance to the lower realms, like demons literally avoid messing with your energy, you may be carrying the traits we're about to unpack. But be warned, this isn't surface-level spirituality. This is the deep end. And only those who've already danced with their shadow will truly understand what's being said here. Let's begin with the first trait, energetic stillness so dense it becomes a spiritual gravity field. Most people think demons fear loud prayers or flashing symbols, but that's a misunderstanding. What they fear most is presence, unshakable, embodied, grounded presence. The kind that doesn't react, doesn't flinch, doesn't scatter. You know the kind of stillness I'm talking about, where your energy is anchored so deep in your center that nothing can pull you out. Not fear, not seduction, not chaos. That stillness is a weapon. It is a black hole that sucks illusions into itself and disarms entities without you ever lifting a finger. When you walk into a room and say nothing but everything shifts, this is why. Your nervous system is broadcasting a frequency that says, I am not here to fight. I am here to transmute. And demons recognize that. They back off not because they're defeated, but because they're outclassed. The second trait, radical self-ownership. You've probably noticed by now that the more you own your darkness, your pain, your flaws, your mistakes, the less external forces can manipulate you with them. That's not an accident. It's a spiritual law. Entities feed off what you suppress. They feed off shame, off guilt, off secrets. But when you've walked through your own inner hell and made peace with what you found there, you become unhackable. You stop being a puppet. You stop being bait. You stop being available for any frequency that needs you to doubt yourself in order to attach. Because you've already faced the worst in yourself and survived. You've already looked in the mirror and said, yes, this is me, and I'm still sacred. That kind of self-ownership becomes an armor no demon can pierce. Now pause for a second and ask yourself something. What part of me have I not fully owned yet? What emotion, memory, or belief still makes me flinch when it surfaces? That's where the hook is. That's the opening. And if you can go there, not just to fix it, but to integrate it, you'll find that the very thing that made you vulnerable becomes the thing that makes you invincible. The third trait is a big one. You remember who you were before the world taught you to forget. This is deep soul memory, ancestral memory, cosmic memory. You don't just believe in spiritual warfare, you remember it. You felt echoes of past lifetimes where you were hunted, silenced, exiled, or burned for carrying codes the world wasn't ready for. And despite the pain, you returned, not to be a victim of the same storyline, but to rewrite it. This memory lives in your bones. It's why you've never fully trusted surface-level spirituality, why you've always felt like something deeper, more ancient, was calling to you. Why you've never been afraid of demons, even when you were a child. Because somewhere inside you, you knew you weren't here to be protected from them. You were here to stand above them. And that brings us to the fourth trait, spiritual discernment so sharp it becomes a blade. You can feel when someone's energy is off before they speak. You can detect manipulation in someone's light language. You can hear the lie inside a truth. And most importantly, you don't doubt it. You've learned to trust your internal compass more than any external authority. That trust makes you dangerous to the dark, because it means they can't gaslight you, they can't confuse you, they can't hide behind fake spiritual personas. You cut through it instantly, and you don't need proof. You don't need receipts. You feel it in your gut, and that's enough. That's why people often feel nervous around you. They know they can't hide in your presence. And that's why demons back off, because you see them before they reveal themselves. Fifth trait, you're emotionally sovereign. This one is massive. Emotional sovereignty means your inner state isn't dictated by external forces. You don't spiral when someone projects onto you. You don't crumble when someone withdraws love. You don't get high off praise or low off criticism. You are centered in yourself, and that makes you unfeedable. Lower entities rely on emotional chaos to latch on. They thrive in drama. They need you to be reactive. But you've trained your nervous system to breathe instead of panic, to ground instead of flee, to pause instead of attack. And in that pause, they lose their access. Because you're not broadcasting the frequency of "I need something outside of me to feel whole." You're broadcasting "I am whole, fully, now." And that tone, that vibration, it's like garlic to them. Now here's something no one talks about. Your capacity to hold paradox is the sixth trait. You can be fierce and soft, loving and ruthless, forgiving and boundaried. You don't live in black and white. You don't need the world to be simple. And that complexity is spiritual power, because it means you can navigate multiple dimensions at once. You can walk with the light without rejecting the dark. You can speak to angels and still understand demons. That's why you're hard to predict, why you don't fit into neat categories, why you're hard to label, because you aren't a role. You're a living transmission of integration. And in a world addicted to extremes, that integration is a threat to systems, to illusions, to entities, because it reveals that power doesn't come from polarity, it comes from wholeness. So now I ask you, what would it look like to stop hiding your paradoxes? To stop trying to be one thing or the other and allow yourself to be all of it in harmony. What demons feed on is fragmentation, but what makes them flee is unity. When your inner world is not at war with itself, you become a fortress. Not because you wall yourself off, but because you've unified your field. And a unified field is the most dangerous thing in the spiritual realm. The inner earthquake, how stillness becomes a weapon against the shadows. There's a kind of stillness that isn't quiet at all, it's seismic. It's the kind of stillness that unsettles entities, disturbs illusions, and shakes the foundations of falsehood. This is the seventh and final trait of the dark chosen one that we must explore, the inner earthquake. You might not realize it, but every time you choose presence over panic, neutrality over noise, and awareness over reaction, you become a frequency disruptor. Not just on this physical plane, but in the energetic grid that surrounds and influences it. You stop being reactive and you start becoming magnetic. And in that magnetic stillness, demons can't operate. They rely on motion, on chaos, on confusion, on emotional turbulence. When they encounter a being who is still, but not passive, calm, but not checked out, silent, but deeply aware, they lose their grip. They cannot find a foothold, because what you've created is a field of non-resonance. They can't stick where there's no sound to echo their chaos. Have you ever noticed that when you're deeply grounded, people around you either open up in profound ways or they get uncomfortable and pull away? That's not random. That's your field doing what it does. It's reading vibrations. It's mirroring truth. It's revealing unsaid things. This is what it means to become the mirror of stillness. You're not attacking anyone. You're simply being. But your beingness is so refined, so coherent, so unavailable for distortion that anything out of alignment begins to shake in your presence. And this is why demons back off, not because you're loud, but because you're precise. Let me say that again, precision is power. It is not the force of your energy that repels darkness, it's the coherence of it. The more aligned you are with your essence, the fewer entry points exist for lower forces to manipulate. Now let's go deeper. This kind of spiritual stillness is not natural, it's trained. It's earned through fire, through collapse, through countless initiations where you chose not to run when everything inside you screamed to escape. You learned to sit in pain, to breathe through fear, to feel without needing to fix. You mastered your body first, your breath, your posture, your reactions. Then your mind, your thoughts, your narratives, your projections. And then your soul, your purpose, your knowing, your remembrance. That's how you built the stillness, layer by layer, until there was no more static, until the signal of your soul became so clear it vibrated through dimensions. That's what demons feel, that vibration, that signal. And because it carries no lies, no hooks, no fear, it becomes invisible to them. It's not that you're protected by something external. It's that you've become undetectable to what feeds on distortion. And that's what people don't understand about spiritual warfare. It's not always about casting out or shielding in dramatic ways. Sometimes the most powerful defense is refusal to be disturbed. When you reach a point where nothing outside of you can pull you out of alignment, when your frequency remains the same regardless of who enters the room, that's when you've transcended the battlefield. You're not in the war anymore. You're above it. And from that place, you don't fight demons. You disorient them because they expect resistance. They expect reaction. But when they meet stillness, they get confused. They can't find the script. They can't find the pattern. They scatter. Let me ask you something deep. When was the last time you truly sat with your own energy, without distraction, without a goal, without trying to fix anything? Because most people confuse activity with healing, but real transformation happens in the void, in the space between breaths, in the silence between thoughts. That's when your soul begins to speak. And when your soul speaks, everything false begins to fall away. You don't need to chase demons out. You just need to stand so fully in your own soul's frequency that they can't survive in your field. It's like oxygen to them, it burns, because their power only thrives in your forgetting. And stillness is the state where forgetting ends. Now I want you to start seeing stillness as a weapon. Not a passive one, a strategic one. Use it when someone tries to provoke you. Use it when you're being energetically attacked. Use it when the world is screaming for your attention and your panic. Just pause. Just breathe. Just become immovable. Your stillness is not weakness. It's the sign that your aura is rooted in something deeper than reaction. That you've become a guardian of your own frequency. That you've remembered you are not here to be tossed around by emotions, projections, or entities. You are here to anchor a different reality. And that reality begins with breath, with presence, with stillness. Finally, let's talk about the cost of this power. Because yes, there is a cost. You will lose people. You will outgrow systems. You will walk alone. You will feel misunderstood. But that's the price of coherence in a world built on fragmentation. That's the price of clarity when everyone's still addicted to noise. But here's the thing, you won't trade it for anything. Because once you taste the peace of being untouchable, of being undisturbed, of being aligned, you'll never go back. You'll never again give access to anything that shakes your center. You'll become the mountain, the storm, the eye of the void. And from that place, you'll not only repel darkness, you'll become a refuge for others still learning how to find their ground. The silence beyond sound, why your frequency alone can collapse entities. There is a kind of silence that doesn't come from the absence of noise, it comes from the full presence of power. It's the silence of someone who knows, who remembers, who is. It's not empty, it's full. Full of codes, knowing, and ancient fire that's been refined through lifetimes of spiritual war. This is the silence that radiates from the dark chosen ones. It's not something you talk about, it's something you carry. And when you carry that frequency, your very presence becomes a disruption to the unseen forces that manipulate, distort, and siphon. You don't need to invoke anything. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't even need to draw your sword. You are the sword. You are the invocation. You are the signal that tells the demonic field, this territory is no longer open. Let's go deeper into this. Demons, whether seen as entities, thought forms, or parasitic energies, operate through resonance. They seek out frequencies that match their own. Fear, chaos, addiction, self-loathing, guilt, unprocessed trauma. But when you walk into a space and your frequency is whole, coherent, present, and not bound by those patterns, you collapse their field. Not by attacking it, but by offering no foothold, no echo, no matching pattern. This is why some of us are targeted early in life, because we already carried this potential even before we matured into it. They tried to fracture us before we could unify. But when you survive that, when you integrate those wounds instead of being consumed by them, your frequency becomes anti-parasitic. Just your presence, your breath, your gaze, your posture becomes a spiritual firewall. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed people suddenly get defensive or anxious or overly performative? That's not because you're doing anything wrong. That's because your field is revealing things they're trying to hide, even from themselves. And that's exactly how it works with entities. What makes them back off isn't your fire, it's your clarity. Your refusal to perform. Your refusal to pretend. Your refusal to participate in illusions. And that refusal becomes a kind of light, not the blinding white light that tries to overpower darkness, but the deep black flame that absorbs distortion and transmutes it into truth. That's what demons fear, not your rituals, not your words, but the fact that you've become unavailable to their manipulation because you've cleaned your system from the inside out. This is why one of the most advanced spiritual practices isn't external, it's internal hygiene. It's maintaining the integrity of your thoughts, the sobriety of your emotional field, the intentionality of your actions, the coherence of your boundaries. When you walk in spiritual integrity, you become like a clean instrument. You don't have to try to be powerful, you simply are. You don't have to perform healing, you embody it. And every room you enter becomes a tuning fork. You don't even need to confront the energy. The energy either rises to meet you or it leaves. That's the power of frequency. That's why demons back off. They don't want to be seen. And your presence is a mirror that cannot be avoided. But let's be honest, it's not easy being this kind of mirror. Sometimes your presence makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes you'll be blamed for the discomfort your truth reveals. Sometimes you'll be called intimidating or too much or too intense. But remember this, you're not too much. You're just too real for those still addicted to distortion. That's not your fault. That's your function. You are a disruptor, a frequency keeper, a mirror that shows what people are afraid to see. And yes, that means you won't be liked by everyone, but you weren't sent here to be liked. You were sent here to be clear. And clarity is confrontation in a world built on denial. So let me leave you with this truth. You don't have to fight to be powerful. You don't have to prove to be worthy. You don't have to perform to be safe. You just have to remember who you are. And then be it, fully, loudly, silently, unapologetically. Because the moment you do, the moment you stop hiding any part of yourself to make others comfortable, the moment you walk into rooms with your full frequency intact, that's when the shadows scatter. Not because they're afraid of you, but because they know they can't touch you. You've become the one thing they can't feed on, a being who is whole, a being who remembers, a being who cannot be moved. There's one more layer we haven't touched, the layer of legacy. You see, the traits of the dark chosen one aren't just for self-preservation. They're not just about keeping demons at bay or walking untouched through the fire. They are codes, living blueprints embedded in your soul, meant to activate others. When you embody stillness, sovereignty, discernment, and deep presence, you don't just repel darkness. You awaken light in others who have forgotten it was ever inside them. Your frequency becomes a reminder that power isn't something we chase, it's something we remember. And when you remember, when you finally stop dimming, filtering, or fracturing yourself, you become a living invitation for others to do the same. That's legacy. That's how we shift the collective field, not by preaching, but by being. But let's be clear, this path is not glamorous. It's not romantic. It's not Instagram-worthy. It's lonely. It's raw. It's filled with initiations that most people will never see, much less understand. You'll cry in silence. You'll lose people who once meant everything. You'll outgrow versions of yourself that you were once proud of. But each time you let go of what no longer aligns, you'll reclaim a piece of your original essence. And that's the sacred paradox. Every loss on this path is actually a return. You're not becoming someone new. You're excavating who you were before the world told you to be small. That's the real work. That's why the demons back off. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. And realness is lethal to illusion. And when you sit in your silence, when you're no longer needing to prove your power, justify your path, or explain your intuition, you'll begin to notice something else. The world bends around you. Opportunities shift, people show up, time slows down, synchronicities increase. Why? Because you've exited the frequency of distortion and entered the frequency of alignment. And in alignment, everything that is for you finds you. Because you're no longer vibrating at the frequency of fear or lack or confusion. You've become a clear channel, and clear channels don't chase, they attract. Not through force, but through truth. Truth is magnetic, truth is disruptive, truth is the weapon and the medicine. And those who carry it are always protected not by shields, but by resonance. Still, there's a responsibility that comes with this clarity. You don't get to misuse your energy. You don't get to manipulate others. You don't get to use your discernment to shame or your presence to dominate. Because the moment you do, you fracture your field. And when you fracture your field, you become susceptible again. Not to punishment, but to misalignment. And misalignment is invitation. So the path of the dark chosen one is not just about power, it's about humility. It's about remembering that your power is borrowed, that your gifts are not for ego, they are for service. Not service in the traditional sense, but service to truth, service to alignment, service to the grid that holds this reality together. And this is why demons flee from you, not because you're holy, not because you're perfect, but because you're anchored in truth. And truth is the one thing they cannot manipulate. It's the one thing that burns them on contact. You've become a living embodiment of that truth. That's your armor. That's your sword. That's your shield. And it doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be seen. It just needs to be held. Held in your breath. Held in your actions. Held in your posture. Held in your stillness. Held in your quiet refusal to abandon yourself, even when the world demands it. So let me ask you something, maybe the most important question of all. What would your life look like if you never abandoned your truth again? What would shift if you stopped editing your light to make others feel comfortable in their shadows? What would rise if you stopped apologizing for the power you carry? Because the moment you do, the moment you stand in the full, unfiltered frequency of your being, everything that is false will fall away. And everything that is meant will rise to meet you. That's the law. That's the code. That's the path. You are not here to fight shadows. You are here to become such a clear frequency that shadows cannot enter your field. You are not here to prove your power. You are here to embody it. You are not here to seek safety. You are the safety. You are the guardian, the disruptor, the unshakable, the mirror, the sword, the sanctuary, the silence. You are the one they warned about, and you are the one the darkness cannot touch. There's something you carry that can't be taught, can't be bought, and definitely can't be faked. It's not charm. It's not charisma. It's an ancient frequency, etched into your bones, encoded in your bloodline, activated by pain. It's the energy of the dark chosen one. And when you walk into a room, even if you say nothing, even if you smile politely, demons feel it. They back off, not because you're loud, but because you're clear. Not because you fight, but because your presence makes lies collapse. In this video, I'm not just going to give you knowledge, I'm going to hand you the mirror. And if you see yourself in these 7 traits, you'd better listen closely, because you're not just different, you're dangerous to the illusion. Let me take you somewhere most people won't go. Call it the edge of the veil. Call it the threshold where light and shadow blur. That's where the dark chosen ones live. Not in the temple, but in the trenches. We weren't sent here to be saved. We were sent here to remind darkness who it's dealing with. And make no mistake, demons don't fear love and light. They fear truth, raw, unfiltered, integrated. Let's talk about the traits that make them leave before they ever get close. The first trait is energetic immunity. You've been through things that should have broken your spirit, but they didn't. You've danced with despair, walked through emotional hell, stared into the void, and came back with your soul intact. That's the kind of resilience no entity can manipulate. Demons feed on unprocessed pain, guilt, shame, and denial. But you've sat with those shadows. You didn't run. You listened. You made peace. And now, there's nothing inside you for them to hook into. That's why they don't haunt you. They respect you, or they flee. Second trait, you don't flinch around darkness. Most people panic when the energy shifts. They feel a presence and they call for help. You feel a presence and you observe. You don't react, you read. You know the difference between a wandering spirit and a parasitic force. You know when something's echoing from the past or projecting from the room. Your awareness is your armor. That kind of clarity is rare. And demons? They hate clarity. They thrive in confusion, in fog, in scattered thoughts. Your stillness is like a sword. It cuts through the static. Third trait, you can't be seduced. Not by power, not by false light, not by masks dressed as mentors. You've seen behind too many curtains to fall for the show. You've been burned by false leaders, fake healers, and spiritual parasites masquerading as guides. And instead of becoming bitter, you became brutally discerning. That discernment, that's your third eye wide open. It's a laser. It sees through frequency, not words. That's why you trigger people. That's why demons avoid you. You can't be tricked. You've outgrown the game. Fourth trait, your presence is a frequency disruptor. You don't have to do anything. You just exist and things start to shift. People get uncomfortable. Secrets start surfacing. Entities hiding and others begin to squirm. That's not a coincidence. Your field is clean and it doesn't allow distortion to stay hidden. That's why you're often the person who changes the vibe in a room. That's not bad energy, it's powerful energy. And anything unaligned will either rise to meet you or run from you. That's not rejection. That's resonance doing its job. Fifth trait, you're not addicted to being loved. You've let go of the need to be understood, accepted, or approved of. This is huge, because most spiritual attacks don't come from demons, they come from your own fear of rejection. But when you stop needing to be liked, you become unshakable. You say the thing no one wants to hear. You hold the mirror no one wants to face. And you do it not from hate but from alignment. That kind of integrity makes you a nightmare to manipulative entities. They can't guilt trip you. They can't gaslight you. You've already seen your own shadow and chose truth. Sixth trait, you've mastered solitude. You don't fear being alone. In fact, you thrive in it. That's a serious superpower, because demons love noise, distraction, external validation loops. But you've sat in the silence. You've stared into yourself. You've gone mad and come back with blueprints. That's why you're dangerous. You don't need the crowd. You don't need the ritual. You don't even need the words. You are the ritual. You are the spell. You are the frequency that purifies the space just by being. Seventh trait, and this is the one that seals it all, radical self-responsibility. You don't blame. You don't project. You own it. All of it. Your thoughts, your triggers, your power, your wounds. That level of ownership is rare. Most people look for someone to save them. You looked in the mirror and became your own savior. That's what makes you a dark chosen one. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And realness cannot be manipulated. Realness cannot be possessed. Realness is sovereign. Let's go deeper now, because those 7 traits, they're not just signs of spiritual maturity, they're weapons, but not the kind you throw, the kind you become. And once you hold these within you, the game changes. You stop reacting to energy and start commanding it. You stop defending your light and start anchoring your truth. You don't cast out demons. They cast themselves out in your presence, because your vibration becomes unbearable to anything false. Have you ever noticed this? That when you're fully aligned, people around you start to glitch? They get irritated for no reason. They avoid eye contact. They change the topic, or they suddenly feel exhausted. That's your field doing its work. You're not attacking. You're not judging. You're simply revealing. And what's revealed can no longer hide. That's why your silence is more powerful than any sermon. That's why your stillness is more sacred than any ritual. You are a walking activation. And activation feels like a threat to the asleep. But here's the challenge, being this clear isn't always comfortable. You won't always be liked. You won't always be understood. You might even be feared. That's okay. That's part of the path. Because clarity is not about comfort. It's about truth. And truth is disruptive. You were never meant to soothe the system. You were meant to rewire it. You're not here to blend in. You're here to be a code breaker, a glitch in the matrix, a reminder that sovereignty still exists. So I ask you this, and answer with your soul, not your mind. What would your life look like if you fully owned this power? If you stopped softening your truth to make others comfortable? If you stopped apologizing for your clarity, your depth, your fire? What would happen if you treated your presence as sacred technology instead of a burden? Because the moment you do, the entire field around you shifts. You'll start to feel it in the way people respond to you. Not their words, their frequency. Some will lean in, others will run. That's not your job to manage. Your job is to stay aligned. That's it. Stay clear. Stay integrated. Stay rooted in what you've earned. Because let's be honest, this level of clarity wasn't given to you. It was forged through trauma, through betrayal, through countless nights of spiritual war. And now, you carry the blueprint. You don't need validation anymore. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything. You are the proof. Your existence is the evidence. And when you walk that path fully, when you stop dimming your field for comfort, you become untouchable. Not because you're above attack, but because you've become transparent to distortion. There's no handle for them to grip, no wound they can exploit, no crack they can crawl into. You are sealed. You are sovereign. You are seen by the realms that matter. So let me leave you with this final question. If demons flee from your presence and the world trembles at your level of truth, what are you waiting for? Who are you still shrinking for? What illusion are you still protecting? Because the time of hiding is over. The time of spiritual war is shifting, and the new warriors, we don't fight, we embody. We don't raise swords, we radiate codes. And when enough of us do this, not loudly but clearly, the old systems will collapse, not with a scream but with a silence so clean even darkness will bow. You don't need validation anymore. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything. You are the proof. Your existence is the evidence. And when you walk that path fully, when you stop dimming your field for comfort, you become untouchable. Not because you're above attack, but because you've become transparent to distortion. There's no handle for them to grip, no wound they can exploit, no crack they can crawl into. You are sealed. You are sovereign. You are seen by the realms that matter. So let me leave you with this final question. If demons flee from your presence and the world trembles at your level of truth, what are you waiting for? Who are you still shrinking for? What illusion are you still protecting? Because the time of hiding is over. The time of spiritual war is shifting, and the new warriors, we don't fight, we embody. We don't raise swords, we radiate codes. And when enough of us do this, not loudly but clearly, the old systems will collapse, not with a scream but with a silence so clean even darkness will bow.